So what's up, everyone? It is your girl GELBEAUTY 87 here, aka Grace, and it's time for another old school versus new school. So I don't necessarily, when I say old school versus new school, I don't necessarily mean that the brand is older, one brand is older than another brand. I just look at it as more of like one palette is older than another palette. So I just wanted to preface it starting off with that, because some of them you're gonna see, you're gonna be like, that's not an old school brand to the makeup community. I'm not saying the brand is old, I'm saying the palette, one palette is older than the other one. So I feel like the Pillow Talk palette, sorry, I should show you which ones I'm talking about. So we got Charlotte Tilbury versus Huda Beauty. Now I didn't research these 100%, so don't quote me, but I feel like this Pillow Talk palette is older than the Huda Beauty New Nudes palette, because I feel like Huda came out later than Charlotte Tilbury. Don't quote me though, but like I said, this is the Pillow Talk palette. This is what she looks like on the inside. As you can see, this has quite a few shades that don't necessarily work for my skin tone, whereas I feel like the Huda Beauty one has more that diversity when it comes to working for my skin tone, because I feel like it's literally like 2 to 3 rows of this that I can't necessarily use, whereas with Huda's palette I feel like there might be like 2 or 3 shades that I can't use. So I have both of them just because I do review luxury makeup. So I have the Charlotte Tilbury for the luxury makeup I review, and then I have the Huda Beauty one because I just like Huda Beauty's brand, and that's the first full-size Huda Beauty palette I bought, the $65 ones. But let's talk about each palette and what I think of them. So, like I said, when it comes to this one, I feel like her eyeshadows are usually like very lightly pigmented. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about with this, because I feel like Huda's gonna give us like all the pigmentation and then all the different unique formulas she does. Like y'all saw those marble shades in there, and then she has a concealer shade in there for you to be able to use this eyeshadow primer. So I feel like Huda gives you so much more variety and fun stuff to go along with her palettes, whereas Charlotte does these classic like boring like 3 color eye look situations that you're supposed to be able to use for everything, but it's like a lot of times it doesn't go for everybody's skin tone. So I wanted to show this one versus that one. So obviously I'm gonna have to do a berry look because I can only use like this half of the palette. I feel like this half doesn't really serve a purpose for me, so let's just cover her up. She's not giving anything that I need. But so we're gonna use this half right here. Only thing is, I feel like since this has more brown to it, I'm literally just gonna kind of be stuck with this little section right here, and maybe some of this mauve-ish lighter tones over here just to dust over the berry tone that I'm gonna put on. Because if y'all saw Huda has like lots of berry and mauve-ish type tones, and since Charlotte I feel like has lots of browns and a little bit of berry and then a little bit of lighter ashy tones that don't work for me, I feel like this is going to be a challenging, interesting one for me. That's another reason I'm going to do it. But like you see, Huda has like these 3 and 4 different marble shades. She got a couple of glitters in here. She has nice deeper tones. She has nice good amount of tones for every skin tone, because I feel like this row is good for medium, and I feel like this row is good for light, and I feel like the back part is good for more darker tone people. And since Huda is more on a tan skin tone, I can understand her making sure she covers all bases, which I appreciate more. Whereas since I feel like Charlotte is lighter, she doesn't really concern herself with people who look like me or past like tan maybe. I'm being nice. I really wanted to say medium, but I tried to be nice. Anyway, this one's definitely going to be a challenge for me. So let me zoom you on in real quick and cute light. If you're curious what's on my eyes right now, this is the Allure palette from Juvia's place. It's actually going to be in like this series of old school versus new school. It's just not this video. I just have the palette by itself on though. I don't have the palette that I'm going to be comparing it to on at this point in time. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm gonna go off camera and get my life in order. If you're new, hi, how are you? How we normally do videos like this is I'll swatch the older palette first. We're gonna put Charlotte Tilbury on first, and then we're gonna do the Huda Beauty one on camera. So it's gonna go Charlotte when we swatch, then Huda, Charlotte, then Huda, and so on and so forth. Excuse me, depending on how many colors I use. But you saw it's not gonna be that many colors, so I'm thinking we're gonna do like 3 to 4. We might have like 2 mattes. Then we'll have like a shimmer on the lid and shimmer in the corner. So this shouldn't take that long as the other looks have taken in the past, because I have more variety to choose from. But I'm going to go off camera, get my life in order, and then I will return to you with a look. Okay, girl? Okay. Okay, so this is the look I came up with. It's nice and soft and simple. I figured I'd do a quick 3 color eye look to get to the point. So these are 3 colors I chose. This is the Huda New Nudes, and then we got Charlotte, Huda, Charlotte, and then it's Huda and Charlotte. No, sorry, this is Charlotte and Huda. I ended up swatching something else here that was very much pink tone. It wouldn't go with this eye look that well, so I had to change it out. So that's what's going on with that. So we're gonna start off with the light peachy shade from the Charlotte Tilbury palette, and just start dusting it up here. I tried to pick a more mauve-ier tone one, because y'all know the New Nudes is mainly like a mauve tone situation. So that's what I went for. I feel like it's somewhat giving that, not 100% giving it, but somewhat giving it. So I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna work with what I'm being given. You know, not gonna do anything else. As usual, I want to shoot with Charlotte Tilbury and camera to show that I feel like it's kind of soft, and because of pigmentation compared to the other things, which is why I don't like really buy from her that much or reach for her as much, because I don't feel like it gives what other things give. Or maybe it's just because I'm one of those people who prefer to blend out stuff and then build it up, as opposed to like building it up and then blending it out. That could be the issue with her too, but I feel like I build her up quite a bit as well, and I still don't get the pigmentation I'm looking for, so I don't know. Anyway, next is going to the dream portion of the palette. That's where the red is. We're going to put on our outer V. So, as you can see. So I'm just blending in the red. I feel like this is definitely giving more red than the one from the Huda Beauty palette is. I feel like that's more pinkish mauve, but I feel like this is more true like burdenish or brightish type red, if you will. Which, you know, I'm not mad about. That's why that's some of why I liked this palette. It has some nice reddish shades in it, and I felt like it should have a little bit more mauve tones in it. I feel like it's not as mauve as Huda, so that's my only real issue with it. But I actually feel like that built up nicer than the Huda side in this palette, so I don't know if it just varies from palette to palette, or because of the tones I picked in this palette versus the other palette is why it's looking the way it does. But I definitely feel like this one is getting more pigmentation than the Huda one, but I'm not mad about it because the Huda one has a darker berry shade. I can use it if I want to. This is literally the darkest shade in here that has any color to it. The rest of the darker shades are brown, and I feel like that would match my skin tone better than it would as an outer V shade. So there's that. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the shimmer on the lid. So I'm going to take this shimmery shade right here, and that's what's gonna pop on the lid. As you can see, I don't have an inner corner shade. I didn't have any inner corner shades that matched in both palettes. So I was like, we're just gonna stick to the lid shade. I think I put glitter glue on my eye. I'm pretty sure I did. So let's go ahead and do that real quick just to be safe, because I feel like I did. So go ahead and cut it real quick and keep it wet. Matter of fact, I didn't now that I think about it, but it's too late now. We've already got this glitter on, so we're gonna cut this out. Okay. Let's put the shimmer over the lid. So, as you can see, this one gives more of a corally like reddish effect. This one gives more of like the nude champagne type effect to it, if you will. Let me take this out of it. So to me, this gives like the similar effects to a look that I did with the what is that palette? The Metamorphosis palette from Lethal Cosmetics. I feel like one of the holiday looks I did with that one, it's the same thing, except I used the Charlotte Tilbury palette to do it, so that's interesting. But here's what both of the finished looks look like. This is Huda, and this is Charlotte Tilbury. So back on up and talk about my thoughts. Now, surprisingly enough, I feel like this one is actually a tie, because I feel like I like each palette for different reasons, and since they don't have literally the exact same sorts of tones, it's hard for me to like distinguish and pick one. But if I had to pick one, of course we know I'm gonna pick Huda. I feel like the tones in there are more tones that work for my skin tone, and that's the problem I feel like I find with a lot of Charlotte Tilbury palettes in general. I feel like they don't always have a lot of tones that work for my skin tone. There might be a little section, a little row, and a little 3-part section she likes to do, but it's like this palette costs $75. I need to be able to use all of it, or at least a good majority of it to my liking, since the palette costs so much. So with that being said, I would pick the Huda Beauty palette. Not to mention the Huda Beauty palette was my first Huda Beauty palette that I bought in the full size, and I really like it and still like it to this day. It was actually fresh when I used in this video, because mine got kind of old, and I went out and bought another one because I liked it that much. So Huda just does it for me. I like the marble shimmers in there. She gives lots of different effects and unique aspects in every single palette she comes out with. So I'm gonna have to go with the Huda Beauty one, because Charlotte's color stories always just seem to be limited and not necessarily limited to my skin tone. So those are just my personal preferences and thoughts. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.